Okay, working. Okay. My name is Ahmed Kamal. I lead data and AI at Hudhud Maps. In Hudhud, for those of you who haven't heard about us yet, we are trying to build an end-to-end mapping platform for all of Saudi. Before that, I have been working at different companies, Careem, Uber, Stream, for almost 13 years, building different data and AI teams and products as well. Um, the reason why I'm speaking to you today is for the last maybe 6 to 12 months, the way my team have been working has changed very drastically. And I would claim that the change in the way we build and ship software in this last year is way, way larger than the change I have seen in the 12 years before. Let's see why. So let's start maybe with some quick show of hands. Who have been using Copilot, Cursor, Claude, Codex daily? Okay, amazing. I skipped the once a week because it seems that we have like very fresh set of like audience here daily. Awesome. And who of you, assuming we don't have any engineering managers or like CTOs or anything, so who of you is having a lot of trust in shipping what you get from AI without reviewing? Without reviewing. Honest. Wow, no one, 0%. Okay, that's crazy. And hopefully by the end of this talk, I want to convince you that you should spend less time reviewing and prompting and more time actually learning how to control the process and how to dictate how the AI can work in a way that should produce more high quality software for you. Let's see. Okay. So I don't really think I need to convince you that the ground has shifted. All of you have already been using Claude and others. And I personally believe that software engineering and data are no longer the same anymore. And we either embrace it or we will be left out. Like there's no other third option. And I think like what you guys already have been saying, 92% of developers are saying that they are using AI daily, which very similar to what you guys said. And unfortunately, 3% of them really have trust in just shipping what they get from the AI without reviewing. And this is like a big trust problem that we try to talk about. At the same time, 25% of all YC startups in the last batch have claimed that most of the code that they have basically wrote was AI generated. The same story can be seen in different enterprises. We're talking about Apple, very conservative company. They recently, for the first time, they rolled out like an internal AI coding system for their employees. I think also for you who have been doing mobile development, Xcode also got support to be integrations with like different coding agents. The same story can be seen in Google and even Google DeepMind. My friends are telling me that 70 to 80 to 90% of the code that they write, like for experimentation and for different R&D, is fully coming from Gemini. There's two interesting papers that I would also recommend you guys take a look at that talks about like two projects that were done at Google DeepMind where they used Gemini in order to improve these two projects without like any manual intervention, fully Gemini. One of them was actually for speeding up the Gemini training itself and saving data infrastructure cost for Google. Um, cool. So I think what we're saying here is that AI is not here to replace engineers. It's more to empower them for those who will be embracing AI and will be able to keep up with it. So I would call it more like a promotion. Like we need to think more like architects. We need to think more like leaders, like who will be leading teams, but rather than human teams, you are leading different agents. And we still have a lot to offer. We still have like the ability to judge, the intent, the ability to understand domain knowledge better than any AI agent. While yeah, agents are really good at like few things. One of them is speed, super, super fast. They have like extensive memory. They are able to read like tens of thousands of lines of codes in no time and hundreds of different files, like very, very fastly. Like while maybe naturally for us, We need like a lot of time to get onboarded to a new repository and like to understand what it's talking about, and maybe to write like just a README file we used to spend like hours and hours. Now this is like for those who've tried it, a few who have tried it, I'm sure like it's mind blowing, right? Like when you're just writing a README file for any project you have, it gives you like a very, very good one in no time. And this means it's able to understand all the different files and what this code is talking about, and in order to give you the summary in the README file, right? Cool. Um, I want to give you a glimpse into the history, okay? Like where did we start and where are we right now? But let me start also with a question, like who used Visual Studio Code with Copilot to do auto-completion when this was like very, very start. Okay, which year was that? 2020, exactly. Yes. Yeah, exactly. I think I was like going through COVID and then and this was like coming and we were like, wow, autocomplete, that really goes really fast. That's amazing. Right, yeah, that's functioning exactly. And I was like, oh wow, like now you don't really need to translate. Like if you want to localize anything, you can just like write like the name in English, name in Arabic, and then immediately it will do the same for the rest. But this is no longer something that we even embrace or like think about because it's like it's now really, really easy to do, right? So we have like 6 stages. We started with this autocomplete era. I'll try to go fast because I know that some people like get bored when we talk about history, but I think it's really important that we understand the evolution because like these things are not really black boxes, right? Like they got developed in our lifetime. And I think it's good that we think about them deeply and we understand how something like that evolved from being very, I'm sorry, stupid to being very interesting and very intelligent as of now, right? Like it went through different iterations. Second iteration, I think, was very, very recent. We started having ChatGPT. Some people used to ask questions about their personal life, but I think developers like did something different. They sent it like different code snippets, and they tried to see if it can write testing code, different tests, fix some bugs. It used to hallucinate. It used to talk about like different libraries and different functions that didn't exist in these different libraries. But then over time, I think earlier last year, we started hearing about vibe coding, and people were claiming, okay, software engineering is done. You don't really need to write any code anymore. And yeah, why? Because you can do like a to-do app and like you give it a message, it gives you a to-do app, and this means we don't need to hire engineers anymore, and we need to fire and do layoffs. But we got surprised that this wasn't really the solution, and we got like hundreds of thousands of lines of code, spaghetti, that weren't really working. And once you get like just a small bug, it was like very, very hard to fix this bug. And if you try to do prompting, um, which I think I tried Google like when they released like the very very first version of their vibe coding experience. You tell it to fix one bug, it introduces another. You try to fix the other one, it like gives you like a third one. So it wasn't working. Honestly, I became skeptical at that time. I was like, these guys are like bragging. It's not gonna work. But I think when we got Claude, May 2025, and I would claim at the end of last year, just a few months ago, that's when I personally got shocked from like the quality of what Claude is given basically, and the big difference between how it was really working before and how it is working for the last few months. People basically said, okay, let's forget about vibe coding. We need to figure out like a new way of dealing with these different agents. And that's when we started hearing about agentic. Okay, we'll let the model do search. We'll let the model get connected to Notion, MCP, all these different interesting ideas. But I would claim that there's one idea and one evolution that was the main contributor behind this breakthrough. And that's it. I mean, let me take a guess. Like, who thinks like what's the most important evolution in the models that really made them way way better? Think models. Context. Context. What's about context that made them better? More context, wider window, right? And thinking models. Yes. So if any of you have read like the book called Thinking Fast and Slow, right? Like there's two modes we think at human, right? Like, there's like the thinking fast, which is, yeah, I memorized like how to multiply numbers. So if you ask me a 5 by 6, yeah, it's 30. Like I don't need to think about it. It's just coming from my memory. So I think the earlier versions of these models used to work like that. You tell it, give me maybe how can I write like this code, and it will try to recall from its memory, pattern matching. It's like a parrot trying to predict the next word. But is it really thinking? Not really. And normally that's why it will also try to hallucinate because just memorize maybe certain libraries. So if you try to write certain code that requires a new function, it will just hallucinate. Oh yeah, this function exists, while in reality it doesn't. So this will be what the case when we dealt with earlier version of Claude, earlier version of Gemini. But system two, which is thinking slow, which is more similar to if I asked you to multiply, I don't know, like a very large number by another very, very large number, you wouldn't be able to spit it out, right? You will need a lot of time to think about it and maybe a pen and paper in order to do like the math behind it, right? So the same is happening for these models, right? The model now using reinforcement learning, that's the main machine learning concept that basically differentiate these two models, is no longer trying to predict the next word only. It also predict the next word for sure, but it's now a more advanced workflow where it's trying to validate, backtrack, break the problem to different pieces, try to leverage the different integrations, like the MCP, of course, is one, but we have like different other ideas in order to make sure that whatever result is given is validated multiple times and it's logical in some sense, of course, before you get like an answer. And that's maybe the big differentiator between these recent models. I mean, in every domain, not just in programming and development, but like between these recent models and between the earlier version. It's not alone. So let's reflect maybe on why vibe coding itself was breaking. The first one is context. I mean, of course, the context window wasn't large, but at the same time, I think if you guys remember, most of like the way we used to work with these models was I will open a chat, I will write like maybe some message. You will get like a lot of interaction with these models, but after you're done, you will lose all this history. While in reality, this history is the most important piece of like the software development, right? When we have a design discussion, I mean, we humans, right? Like we don't really go and like we write something on the whiteboard and say, oh, amazing, amazing. Then we just go and erase like the whiteboard. We don't do this, right? We convert it into a design document, an RFC, like some diagram, right? And we document it because that's the contract that we all aligned on. So the same needs to happen here when we are leveraging AI to do software development, right? Second is we used to delegate very, very critical and important decisions to these models. So the model will pick which database, which design patterns, which maybe REST or RPC, like very important and critical decisions that the model doesn't have enough understanding of the problem to make these decisions, which is very scary. Last but not least, yeah, we didn't have testing, we didn't have structure, we just relied on spitting like tens of thousands of lines of code, which doesn't make sense. So I think a good analogy here is like vibe coding is like more like compiling C++ code like to assembly and then just getting rid of the C++ code and taking those assembly and trying to debug and understand what's going on after, which is almost, I think for us, the new generation is almost impossible. So that's I think where this new paradigm has come. So there are like multiple different frameworks, and I'm not here trying to advertise for any of these. They are all open source. They are all coming from very interesting companies. But like what really matters here is like the way of working. It's a different way. We are no longer trying to like focus on producing large number of lines of code. No, we are caring too much about the context, and we will see in the examples after how. But it seemed that all these different frameworks are talking about one single story, one new workflow. The workflow is like very focused on understanding the context, versioning the context. The context is very important. It needs to be versioned the same way you version your design document, you version your code. You need to do the same for this context. It's really important that we have, I would call it a framework that dictate how these AI agents work, right? So in our software development like process, we have a process, right, that we follow. We do, I don't know, iterative or whatever, but like we start with coding, we write tests. If it's TDD, we do something. If it's domain driven, we do another way. But there's a process that we follow, and we try to ensure that everyone within the team follow this process And the same needs to happen when we are working with AI. So people started dictating what Claude and other agentic frameworks does by putting markdown files. I'm sure maybe some of you have seen them. Please make sure that before you do whatever you do, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and these files became very large, which was the start. But after we found some issues, like yeah, sometimes the model works, sometimes it skips some of these instructions, which was problematic. So this was the first iteration. The second iteration is more like this. This is one of like the framework that I mentioned previous. It's called Codev. The idea here is very simple. Think about how you do development yourself. You start with RFC, design document. You think about what do you really need to build. You put it in writing, right? You think about what design decision do you need? How can you convert the business logic into something that engineers understand? And you go really and write like lines and lines until you clarify every single piece that really matters. So the same needs to be done here. You can leverage the AI in order to make it better, to think about different corner cases, try to give you ideas, but you need to sign off this. We call it spec. I would just say it's design document, right? And once you have this, you can now just convert it into tasks. And these tasks can be like run by, in real life, multiple developers, but here we can have multiple agents. And if they are independent, it actually means that we can have multiple agents running in parallel working on these different tasks. And if you have like very clear set of rules, like let's say you have like, okay, please make sure that you write tests, integration tests, unit tests, whatever matters to you. And if you made sure that your validation criteria is really solid, then you can leave the space for these builders to write whatever implementation makes sense, following the rules that you have set, following the architecture that you have set, and then just wait for them to work and get stuff done. The same way you will do for humans. They will submit a PR, they will create their own branch, and they will try to get this PR merged. If it's working, if it's passing the test, if it's passing the linters, if it's passing wherever you have in your process, it should work, right? It should be merged. The PR should be merged. The code that's submitted should be accepted. So the same standard that we are putting for human developers can be coded here. So what we are doing is basically we're coding the process. We are basically coding how the coder should work, which is nice, but we can even add more to that. So there's for you, or those of you who have been working maybe like in the machine learning field, we have like this idea of like ensemble models. Like we get like multiple different models and we try to get them to work together in order to have like a better output, like from the wisdom of all these different models. So this framework is like following something similar. It's trying to get like the ensemble of like the three most famous, interesting agents. So one model would be weak in some area, the other would have like more intelligence in that area. So you can rely on that, having multiple reviewers, which is the same that we do in real life. We get like the 2, 3, 4, depending on the criticality of the piece of software that we are trying to ship. To the same can be followed here. I personally, I mean, I don't even want to like code these numbers, but I personally, like last week, over the weekend, I was able to produce like a new framework for Hudhud, like 20,000 lines of code in 2 days. And I didn't really spend like the full 2 days, and don't tell my manager about that. But like basically it's working. And the reason why it's working is because I spent a lot of time crafting the plan, crafting the validation criteria, and then after it produced basically uh, maybe the first version, let's call it V1, basically, the first iteration, I went and I used all my skills in debugging and in finding corner cases and like the potential issues, etc. Like the same way a normal architect will be reviewing like any new product that's released from maybe a bunch of mid-seniors or like and juniors, let's say, right? So yeah, me as a human, I had like a very good role in making the software getting built, but I don't think like I wrote more than few lines of code out of these 20,000 lines of code, which is crazy. Like because I can spend maybe most of my energy in the thing that no one else can do, right? And that's maybe the whole idea behind maybe having juniors and mid-seniors and like different levels within a company, right? Because like this way we can split the work between, yeah, what could be boring for a senior is actually very interesting for a junior. What's boring for a senior for a junior is actually very, very interesting for an intern. So the same can be here. Yeah, it's not gonna be easy for juniors, I understand, but like that's a different story for a different talk. Cool. I think this slide is actually very important. So if you guys are okay, no questions, no concerns, I can move forward. Okay. For those of you who are working in the data science area, machine learning, tuning models, trying to choose multiple different models, there's another nice pattern that Andrew Karpathy have been testing and talked about. He called it auto research. The idea here is very simple. Rather than trying to dictate the process of development or like how you would work, this doesn't really work much in data science or experimentation kind of problems, right? Because you don't really know the way to solve the problem itself, right? You just need to try and think and keep trying until you figure out like a solution. So the idea here is a bit different. Think about a success criteria, set this success criteria very well, and then open the door for the model to try different experiments until it figures out like the best way to do that. Think about maybe tuning a machine learning model, right? You have like a lot of different parameters. You have different model that you can try, but it's really hard for you to say, yeah, I mean, some data scientists or some machine learning could claim, yeah, I know the best model for this problem, but it's hard. It's really, really hard. And Andrew himself, like a guy who worked in OpenAI and was leading AI at Tesla and et cetera, et cetera, like he was shocked when this framework was able to tune the model much better than how he did it like initially with all his understanding of deep learning, such and such. So I think we all need to be a bit more modest and like understand that, yeah, there is like a lot of opportunity here that we can leverage. So that's a different way. And I would claim that it actually suits more the data science and experimental kind of work. You need a lot of agents. You need some good amount of compute power because you need to do like a lot of experimentation. But it works. And that's the same idea that Google was talking about in their paper where they were trying to basically find new solutions for basically a data science kind of problem. So they set up like some kind of Kaggle leaderboard. If I'm sure many of you know about Kaggle. In Kaggle, you have like a certain scoring criteria. You have a leaderboard, do whatever, but just try to pass this scoring criteria. And they were shocked actually that like the Gemini was able to figure out like some solution that were able to land at the first place in multiple different problems. And these are very real world problems, by the way. Cool. So if I would summarize, we have multiple different stages, right? Like auto-completion, treating Claude or other agents as a junior developer is, I think, where most of us are. We think, okay, I will just try to tell it do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in terms of implementation. I don't really want to trust it because like it doesn't know. I know better. That's a way of working. What I'm arguing for here is stage 6, which is don't really try to dictate everything. Try to think more as an architect. Try to think more about like the process, dictating a process and monitoring and getting yourself involved where it matters, ensuring that the quality of the output is really high. But don't really spend most of your time trying to prompt and dictate manually. Try to rely on a framework, and hopefully this framework can really lead you to a good result. And I think in the meanwhile, a lot of people are trying to think about how we can get software engineers and agents to work in collaboration together, not just agents alone and humans alone. Cool. Is it really all rosy, green, amazing, 10x engineers, but being AI and such? Not really. We have like shortcomings and counterparts, and that's maybe why we still have our jobs. Cool. So let's think about them. Meter is actually a very nice study that I've read maybe a few months ago, and it was very interesting. It was very interesting. And when I saw like the second iteration of it, I was actually more excited. So the study on the left, you can see, is interesting because people mid 2025, they did this study. They got like a bunch of open source contributors. They tried to measure the productivity boost that they are getting from AI. The guys were saying, yeah, we are very productive, like at least 20%. But in reality, when they measured them, they found that no, they weren't actually that productive, and like AI wasn't really helping. On the contrary, they were spending more time because of AI. And this is scary because if you're still gonna be using the same old way while working with AI, you could be wasting your time, not really gaining productivity. Why? Because of this interesting reason. Like you're spending a lot of time crafting your prompt, evaluating the output yourself, finding all sorts of bugs and issues, right? And then trying to do more prompting, and then getting maybe a lot of lines of code and trying to understand them. And it gets really, really hard once you have like thousands of lines of code, like to fix all these issues. So you can end up like these guys, like spending more time, not less time, in addition to the money that the company would burn on the tokens, of course. The new study is saying something different. It's early this year. These guys were using like the latest frameworks, etc. And the study is saying that at least 18%, they are 18% more productive. But that's not really the interesting number. I think the interesting number is like this 30 to 50% of the developers who participated in the first study refused to participate in the second one. And the reason, because they said, yeah, we're not really gonna work without AI anymore. So it's very boring. So we don't want to do this. So we're not gonna participate in the study, which is interesting because it say that at least they believe that there is like a lot of value that's really going. And maybe they're also looking down to the kind of work that they have been doing fully without AI now, since AI is able to do it like automatically. I think this slide is very interesting because, yeah, I've been trying to convince you about like that you need to trust the system more and try to work more on crafting your tools and sharpening your SO rather than reviewing the code. But still, I saw this very interesting tweet from Gabriel Patterson, who's the guy who works in OpenAI, so inside like the camp, and he's still very anxious about not having to review every single line of code. So I would claim it's really something that is worth thinking about based on what kind of application, what kind of use case, what kind of basically repo you are dealing with, what kind of business application you are building. You can maybe generate code 10 or 100%, 100x more and faster, but you still have one brain that won't be able to scale when you are reviewing those lines of code. I think another interesting maybe example is Claude Code. Like, did any of you like got like the curiosity to go through the leakage and the leaked like, yeah? Did you have a look? How good was the quality of the code? Like Scrappy, right? Like very, very bad code, right? Garbage, right? It's very vibe coded, but it's hundreds of billions of dollar worth, right? I don't know, like so I think code quality is not really like the most important thing in the world. Like if you are achieving business outcome, I think Claude Code keeps going down from time to time for those of you who have been using it in the last few months. So it depends on the application. If you're doing like banking, maybe Tamara or something, don't do that. But if you are maybe building your new, I don't know, a new startup or something, I think time makes sense to is the more maybe the most scarce like resource that's worth saving. Um, One more hard truth I think to add. I think debugging is not easy, especially if it's really hard, like a bug. Like you have like a lot of lines of code that maybe you didn't really have like a lot, maybe you didn't read, let's be honest. So fixing these bugs can be really hard. A lot of people are very passionate about rewriting from scratch now, since it's getting easier to start new projects. So this means also that they are not familiar with the code repos. The cognitive debt is really hard. I mean, you have 8 hours maybe of working, but when you work maybe and you adopt one of these frameworks and you try to work in the way I was describing, you will find that you are spending all your time trying to fix very hard problems and very hard issues, and your mind doesn't really get any time to rest versus maybe the normal way we're used to, okay, let me put a PR, let me wait for the builder to like run the test, let me do whatever, let me go and have some coffee and come back. And because I already wrote like 100 lines of code, that's enough for me for today. It's no longer the same. So that's also something to be cautious about. Yeah, I think to summarize, like, yeah, vibe coding is a very horrible idea. It wasn't working. It's broken. And I think it got a lot of us to be skeptical, but dismissing AI overall is not really a good recipe for surviving in the tech world. I would love maybe to end with this note. I think for us here in MENA, like people who are building for this region and who cared about this region, this is a big opportunity. I mean, before, maybe in the last, I don't know, maybe 20, 30 years, we used to always have a scarcity in the number of developers and the number of scientists and the number of like basic tech people who are able to leapfrog the state of the region and build solutions across the different domain and sectors in different countries. So I think this is a big opportunity. If you're building the next Google or if you're building the next Google Maps or if you're building the next Facebook, you need like a lot of developers, you need a lot of smart engineers. And if if the barrier to build the software is getting actually less and it's getting easier, then that's a very nice opportunity. Like to go and think about your newest, I don't want to say startup, but like it can be like a new framework, a new product that was much harder to do. I think it's also a big opportunity for people who want to even start their startups, do their side hustle, try experiment with certain ideas that they have been thinking about like since a very long time, but they didn't have time or money to invest. Still, you need to make sure that you are leveraging your strongest set of strengths, your domain knowledge, your architecture judgment, your taste, your understanding of the problem. I think I want to basically want to make sure that what I'm saying here, guys, is I'm not saying that computer science or computer engineering is no longer important. That's totally, totally wrong. On the contrary, you need to be really, really good and you need to really understand what's going on because that's how you'd be able to dictate an architect. If you want to be an architect, that's a promotion. You need more skills. You need more understanding. You need more depth. You need to be able to deep dive and understand without like all these thousands of lines of code in hopefully the least amount of time in order to fix a certain bug. It's like mentoring others. You need to have like a lot of knowledge and a lot of wisdom in order to do that successfully. Otherwise, you can let the AI drive you, which can be very scary if AI took you to a very bad route and it resulted like in a big incident. No one would blame the AI. You would be the one. Yeah, so that's it. Thank you so much. And yeah, I think time for questions.
Let me go back to the slide where we have 106 versions.
Ah, okay. Wow, you memorized the number. Good context. Yes, this one, yes.
Yes. So yeah, it says isolated Git trees, autonomous execution. So basically, agents over agents.
Agents working in parallel. The different builders working in parallel, yes.
Git tree that's non-named.
Yes, yes.
And then
Because these tasks are independent. There's no dependence. And that's, for example, in my project, this what exactly happened. Like we figured out, like after I did like the RFC, it figured out like the implementation. Why are you laughing? You don't believe me? I have my GitHub to show you if you want. I have my laptop here. uh, it figured out like the implementation plan and then said, okay, stage 3, 4, 5 are independent. So we can actually execute them all in parallel. But stage 1 and 2, they actually need to be done sequentially.
Regarding the cognitive depth.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's really hard. Like, at least the way I did it is I think I broke my my sleeping schedule because I was super excited, really, because like wow, and I was like, "Ooh, it's working. Let me just do one more thing." And by the way, like when you are developing features, it's like really boring because like it will take me like a lot of days. But like when I was doing this, let me add one more feature. Let me add one more feature. Like I was building like a catalog for storing satellite data, blah blah blah, and then I was like, okay, let me build the CLI. Let me make it nicer. Let me connect it to Trino and Iceberg. Let me try to see the output. It's just different tiles. Let me try to stitch them together. Let me make it easier for the data science. Let me add more integration tests. Let me add. I just kept doing this, and it was super fun because I think this is the most okay. This is the funniest part of like the software engineer, right? Like when you get like new things. When you're building things and you see the output low. So when all your involvement is like squeezed into this, I think you get like a lot of excitement and I don't know. This is what I felt at least.
I have a question. Uh, so I think the idea that you don't need to review code is saying that code is not important anymore, right? Because if it's important, you need to give it more attention. And doesn't this put software in the same? I know Elon Musk has spoken about this before. AI is gonna generate binary code in the future and this kind idea. Don't you think this puts software in the same problems that models have with overfitting and underfitting? Which basically, if you don't read the code, they are optimized to solve some set of validations you gave, which are not every general problem, right?
Let me answer with a question, okay? You are engineering manager, right? What's your role?
Senior.
So senior software engineer. Let me give you this example, okay? Let's say you got a new intern. You give him a task. He wrote an RFC, design document. The RFC is like very poor because it doesn't really generalize. It's like very constrained on the certain use case that you told him about. So the guy wrote something very, very coupled with the business problem that you told him about, right? You approved it. The guy went and he implemented this. Who should we play?
Have you seen anyone who has written an RFC that wasn't revised after or
Okay.
modified slightly or
Okay.
a lot sometimes?
Amazing.
This happens, right?
Yes.
It happens because RFCs are generally higher level, which don't consider all the detail of existing system. Not
It
ideal.
depends. It depends on the company. I mean,
This is
if it's an RFC in Google, if it's an RFC like in Linux, I assure you it will have like a lot of details. Yeah.
but the probability that you skip something is the
Sure. We are humans. Yeah.
yeah. Then
Mhm.
so it's the same problem. Yeah, the question doesn't solve the problem. Okay, I am to blame, and then what?
And then we just need to get like a better architect to review the RFCs, right?
Better architect and you still miss stuff. That's isn't that the reason that we have like
Uh,
92
okay. Sorry, come again.
like we have 92 for Bluetooth in the last 6 months.
92% availability,
Yes.
as in like available resources that no one is using.
You can access the platform.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. But look at the code, right?
Exactly. Look at the code, right?
Uh-huh.
And it's not that just this agent. Not this
Yeah, but I think you're okay.
Yeah.
I think you're basically mixing two things with each other. Okay, I think if you ask maybe the founders of tomorrow, the founders of Kareem, the founders of any interesting startup like in the region or outside, like about like their first or two versions, like the MVP and the first version, and you ask them about like very scrappy, right?
Yeah.
I think at Kareem, and I joined Kareem very early, and I heard this from the founder. They were laughing that after 6 years they still didn't implement the feature list that they have set when they thought about like the first version of Kareem, right? Because what matters in the business? We are not really doing tech for the sake of like being stimulated about like coding passing or not passing, right? So it's all about. So I think Cloud Code is competing with whom? We're competing with Google, with OpenAI. No, 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 no. There's competitors. There's competitors. Definitely, there's competitor. Uh, OpenAI has like unlimited amount of money. Google has unlimited amount of money. So if they optimize for code quality, maybe they will lose. I don't know, but I would claim that they would lose the race, right? Availability is important, yes, but I still have my subscription. A lot of people still have their subscription. So the business is not optimizing for availability at that time. They are optimizing for growth. I think the same case can be said about like a lot of different businesses. So let's go back to your question, right? I think the answer is different businesses, different problems would require different setups. Again, if you're doing banking, you cannot really rely on full generated code with no review. No one would allow you to do this even like the compliance regulatory, like everyone interested in the success of this bank. I don't know, but like I would say that at least theoretically we should say this, right? That no one should be allowed to do this, right? If you're building a new MVB anywhere,
That's perfect.
that's a perfect for this, right? If you are, I think the case, for example, that Google did is very interesting. It's public. You can read the paper. What they did is like they built an agent framework, wherever, let's go, using Gemini, that will go across the different repos in Google, will try to find like features that are already implemented, and will go and suggest a new PR against these repos, trying to improve like these features. And then the PR will be open for the owner to go and review. How much? Improve as like make it more efficient, like less lines of code, like whatever criteria they have. And then they open these PRs, and I think they mentioned that maybe 78, I don't remember the number, but like 70, 80% of these were accepted, but like the 20, 30% were rejected like due to different reasons. One of them was that the guy who developed the library thought that this is not really necessary. It's like like someone trying to be more clever. It's like trying to make the code shorter, but it doesn't make any more additional value. But think about the amount of value that was created here. Like these are not P0s for any engineer, right? Like no one really would go and spend time trying to optimize a code written by a Googler, right? Like, very high quality should be at least. The same is like in the story that I said earlier, like reducing the amount of AI infrastructure required for Gemini training by few percentages. And I think me and you, we understand like the amount of money that this will translate to. Very interesting. So I think it's not debatable that it's productive, but it's all about how you would deploy it and what makes sense to your business and what kind of framework. Because this is not the only framework, by the way. Like there are like multiple, right? And like these different companies that we mentioned. Let me come back to. Oops, sorry, that's not this one. They're coming from whom? Like one is coming from Amazon, the other is coming from Google, the other is coming from GitHub. So we are not yet there. It's gonna evolve, but I think we either embrace it and we become part of the wave, or we not die, but we'll become slower, let's say. Maybe laid off. Please.
About project, say did a project 2 days.
Yeah.
We spent multiple pages. Yeah.
Yes.
How far you are capable to handle the case about 4 or 5 pages? Because one I see it's long.
I think it's the same problem that I mentioned here. I just once it's done, I went and slept, and I woke up like next day, and they just went through like the different like results and reviewed and such. Like my brain cannot be scalable. Like intervening within the process of the building itself. No, that's totally the country of what I've been talking about here. You set like the rules, you set the process, you set your testing criteria, you make the RFC very, very, very detailed, and then you let the builder do its job. If you want to intervene, you intervene only in certain touch points. One of them is reviewing, because if you're building a new feature, okay, let's say, okay, the main RFC is done, and now you are having a new bug. For example, for me, one bug was that Claude assumed that it's a bit technical, but like the projection of the satellite tiles from one source is actually different from the other source, and was trying to do like some conversion. It was totally wrong. Okay. So for me, it was like I looked at the result by my own eyes, and I saw that no, it's not working. And then I asked the Claude, and it was like saying, yeah, because like well, it was all bullshit. Okay, it doesn't make sense. Okay, so I was like, no, this doesn't make sense. If it makes sense, 1, 2, 3 should have happened. I said, oh yeah, you're right. And like, and then I asked it to try something else, right? And we did like maybe 1, 2, 3 like iterations and until we figure out like the right solution. So why? Because this is not easy. This is not just build me like a dashboard. Like no. This is like uh, one framework that Claude is not really familiar with at all. Like, and I myself didn't anticipate this problem in the design document. That's why design document is very, very important because like without a design document dictating what should be done, you will be relying on the model like to figure out like things for you. It will be able to do that, but there's no guarantee on the direction. That's the vibe coding that we are trying to get rid of. Vibe coding is like trusting the model to make decisions for you. These are the touch point that really, really matter, the decision making, deciding whether to, how would you implement this? How would you do it like real time or batch? How would you do the real time? Which technology stack? How would you design it? What matters to you? Do you care about like, for example, I care about testability. So I made it do all sorts of testing. In Hudud, we use Alibaba, for example. Okay, we don't use AWS. So for me, I wanted to test like do like an integration test, and Alibaba have like something similar to S3 called OSS. I was able to maybe like replicate like the different other libraries like locally, but OSS didn't really have like a local library basically that I can do like integration test against. So we figured out like a way, like, oh yeah, I know that it's followed the same interface as like S3, so huh?
Based with a lot of social media.
Exactly. I actually use this one. Yeah, exactly. And because I know that S3 and OSS are sharing blah blah blah, so this was sufficient for me. So you need to intervene, but like in the decision making, and you need to. I'm for at least from this experiment, I learned that I put like more rules. So that's the beauty of it. Like you learn from the process, and then you add more rules. You add like more modification. Same way people basically shifted from waterfall to iterative, right? And people are shifting. Some people would die for TDD. Others will die for like domain driven like design, right? Like why? Because it makes sense for their business.
I need to lead the AI. Doesn't it?
Yes, amazing. That's I think the best conclusion. Exactly. You need to lead the AI. Don't let the AI lead you. Exactly. That's a beautiful one. Please. Shukran.
Yes, actually, I have one more. It is a concept more than this question.
Please.
Exactly in the place where you finish, we have to lead the AI.
Yes.
And the first question that you ask for everyone here, are you using AI? And everyone is using AI.
Yes.
And once you become to the point of the trust, no one is trusting.
Yes.
Why? Because everyone here is having very good experience. He wrote a number of lines of codes. So he's seeing that he has experience to review this code.
Yes.
But by the time I'm seeing this, create very big space because you will get experience by writing the code.
Yes.
Be honest.
Yes. Yes.
Everyone
Yes.
here, he got
And that's risk, to
by
be honest. That's risk because like the less you write code, like maybe your so wouldn't be as sharp as it is right now, and that's maybe a different challenge that we need to think about all. But companies that wouldn't really care too much about this.
So I'm seeing that this view and this trust is going to be changed by the time because the code that you are going to write
Yeah.
by the time
Yeah.
will not be that much. So you have to trust by any.
I mean, you have to try and get shocked, and then you would trust. I think that's what I saw a lot of you. Andrew Karpathy, as I said, like he was the tweet is public. You can read it. Like the guy got shocked that the framework was able to beat him. I told you guys about this experiment. Like I think other guys also did like something similar. So I heard that the same also from I was like sitting recently with like one of like I think a principal engineer in Google DeepMind or something, and the guy was saying, yeah, I wasn't a believer that a next token prediction would be able to do this, but it works.
So that's exactly what I think. Right now we have a competition between the human and AI.
It shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. If you're really embracing and leading, right? Like it's like I read this from like a developer said like using AI is like taking an Uber to go from A to B rather than walking, right? So once you do it, like you no longer want to walk like anymore. So if you learn like how to use it, then it's a superpower. Like it shouldn't be a competition. Like even if you're gonna pay for it, Claude.
I'm talking about competition here from the concept that you can lead it. Because
Yes, absolutely. Yes, if this is your point, then absolutely, you should lead it. I have a team of maybe 60 or something. And the thing that I keep maybe telling everyone, like when I see that he's using AI and producing maybe a so output, and I'm not talking just about coding. I think everyone, including this presentation, like everyone's using AI in different cases, right? Writing reports, like wherever, summarizing meeting, etc. I keep saying the same thing. If there's an issue in whatever delivery you're sharing, you are the owner. It's not the AI. You are accountable. So think about this. You need to spend, if you don't trust the system, review. If you have a system that you trust, you're going to be still accountable. So I'm not saying that, hey guys, don't review your code and just like, no.
It's my point. Right now, everyone here, you can review them. Okay? But I think by the time.
Yeah, but I don't think you can review 20,000 lines of code. Like it's going to take you like a lot of time. That's the problem, right? Like maybe a team would be able to help here, but yeah, it depends. Yeah, if you want to review, go and review. And that's why cognitive data is really big, because there will be like a lot of lines of code that wouldn't even be familiar for you, and you would need to go and understand and get maybe why it's written like that. I mean, some developers are much better than others in reading code, so right, and others are really good at writing more than others. It's a skill. You keep reading code, you keep refactoring code, you learn more, you get better at this, and you learn how to refactor, and it's a skill. So yeah, you can sharpen the skill and try to spend your time reviewing and detecting issues and such.
Is when you don't know what's written, you'll hate getting paid at 2 a.m. on a Friday.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then you'd have to ask.
Yes,
AI, hey,
yes,
what happened?
yes, yes, yes.
So, and also, even with 20,000 lines of code, PRs, or I mean more than 1,000, that you have small idea about what it does. You also sort of going back to what we call iterative development,
Why?
because iterative development is about shipping small features or small
Okay.
incremental values over time. Waterfall is, hey, let's ship everything right now.
I don't think this was everything, and it wouldn't be everything. I mean, the way you develop is not really related to the AI, right? Like you can have like a V1, get the feedback from the user. In my case, this was like an internal tool, right? So I started getting feedback. Maybe I will do like a version 2, version 3, but I think not waterfall is not really an AI decision. It's more how you would basically use it, right? How would you spec look like? Like, is it gonna be very extensive, everything? And I mean, it's like rewriting code, for example. Like in Uber, I remember um, they decided to rewrite the whole customer app from scratch after maybe 10 years or something, because they found it like the performance wasn't really good, and they decided, it's public, you can read about it in their blog. So when you do a project like that, you already know what you need to implement, right? You don't really need to think about the requirements anymore. You will build it once. But at that time, you had to spend like to dedicate like a very large team in order to accomplish such a project in a reasonable time. Now it's no longer needed. Do you really need to do everything in a waterfall style because AI is enabling you to do this? No, because business-wise, you will lose if you did this. You are making an assumption that are not really vetted by the market or the customer input. So that's another problem.
One of the causes of waterfall was time constraint because of that.
Yeah, yeah.
Right
But
now,
I think the market testing and the user input was more critical than just the amount of time spent. Because by the time you will be done, the market will be already like, right? Think about it. But half.
I have two questions. First, the slide where you mentioned how you should prompt the AI. You said that you should give it a success criteria, right?
The second pattern, yes, yes.
But you said that is only like for AI and machine learning. You say that
I didn't say it's only for. I think it's more suitable. Like it make more sense when you are. Yeah, yeah.
okay, because like this gets me to the second point about how you should prompt it. The thing is, for example, for me as a junior,
Junior data scientist.
junior software,
Okay.
like in general, in reviewing software, I want to keep that part of reviewing lines of code. Like I want to know how you think about it. Is for me, I don't like review every line of code. What I do is
Ooh. Okay.
this is yeah.
Which company do you work for?
I can't tell you now.
Hopefully not tomorrow.
Yeah, but the thing is, I view an abstract.
Yeah.
Like, for example, let's say you are building a calculator.
Yes.
You have a function of add, subtract, and multiply.
Yeah.
Like, if I know that when I say add, a function will call add will be called, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But, and I know an add function is simple enough that the AI will not get wrong. At least from experience, that's what I see.
Mhm.
So, how I do is, I think, what layer am I on?
Yeah.
In like the
Abstraction layer. Yeah.
abstraction layer am I on? Is that layer worth reviewing? Like, when the AI gives it wrong?
Okay.
And what I saw is, with each time that the models are improving, is the layer is getting higher and higher. Like you said, that you are now a solution architect instead of writing.
I like that analogy. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's how I think about it in general. And I would like to know.
Yeah, I think this is a good idea. And I was actually thinking about this once while talking to a friend. I was telling him we used to be writing assembly, right? And then C, C++, I don't know, maybe Java and others, Python, right? And then, of course, Python is not as detailed in your design choices the same way assembly was, right? Like you are delegating a lot of decisions to the compiler if you're talking about like maybe C# or Java or something, and the same. And I'm sure in some companies, but not maybe in the region, they care too much about like this level of optimization to the limit where they go and intervene and they do like modification in the assembly and such. I remember I had a friend who was working for a company that was building a rendering engine, and for them they were intervening in the assembly that's shipped to Chromium, wherever, because they cared about like those milliseconds, etc. But for most other startups, it doesn't really matter. I actually I'm thinking about it the same way you think, right? That the context, the specs, the RFC, the design document is the new code that you're writing, and the coding languages are just the compiled version. And similar to what this gentleman was saying, that's why we care too much about the design and the English, which is supposedly the new programming language, more than we care about the assembly, which is the result, right? You don't care about assembly generated from your Java, right? You just relying on tests and such, and if you are maybe building across different platforms, you just go and test across these different platforms. You don't go and read the assembly written for Android and assembly written for iOS. You don't do this. You're just testing here and testing there. Please.
A couple, like 2 cents on this topic. I come from the reviewer background, so like
Amazing.
a bit of background. I'm on the board of 2 open source software, and
Okay.
I actually write software. Like, I actually write the code inside the open source. One of the open source that I contribute to is called Motic. It's around 800K lines of code.
Okay.
So reviewing BRs is hell. And I'm one of the guys who needs to review BRs, specifically in the email marketing section, because this is the bulk of the code that I own.
Okay.
I own one module out of 36 modules.
How many lines in this
In this specific
module?
module, I can put 120K.
Okay.
Not that big,
Okay.
not that big. But
This guy will have a lot of tips about reviewing.
not that big. Right. How does the review work for us? Even with the AI and the AI slopes and stuff like that, because like I have a surge of BRs that I need to review.
Coming from humans or AI? AI, okay.
Both.
Did you accept any PR from AI? Amazing.
And despite the negative feedback from other team members. In other places, we rejected that kind of things.
Envy or like real concerns?
With real concern.
Okay.
We're not crazy like Tailwind. Some of us are, but in general, we're not crazy in that way. Like, how does review work for us? First of all, before we make a human review it,
Okay.
first of all, we go through a pipeline of reviews. So we have code smells, code coverage, maintainability,
Okay.
bugs, security scanning. Like
Okay.
I think 8 or 10 processes run once you open a PR, just to verify that your PR is ready to be reviewed.
What do you use for security? The security.
CodeGen, Sentry, and SonarQube.
Okay. Rule based.
Rule-based.
Okay.
Rule-based. So different. For some of us, one of them is me. I make the AI review.
Okay. Why?
It makes things easier for me. Like
Okay.
if it's a common anti-pattern,
Okay.
we have the pattern and we have the anti-pattern. If
Okay.
it's the anti-pattern, like revert it back to the contributor,
Okay.
let him fix it, and we do it.
The 80% that's easy is
Yes,
delegated.
do it.
Okay.
Then we move to the areas where it actually matters. So in the email side, we managed to make it send around 1 million emails an hour. 1 million email an hour.
Okay. That's amazing throughput, I
It
think.
is unbelievable.
yeah.
It took me around 6 months to get it there.
Until you get spammed.
You will get spammed, so you need to rotate stuff, a lot of stuff around that.
Okay.
But the throughput for sending that was huge. So we do not negotiate any changes to the transport layer.
Okay.
After that, that's fine. Whatever PR you do,
Okay.
we manually run it, we test it, we use it, we
Okay.
take a screenshot of me using it before I even do the code review.
That's an extensive review process that you would allow.
After that, we go like line by line.
Wow. Okay.
During the process, the PR should not modify more than 30 files.
Okay. Even after that, you shouldn't modify. Okay.
Yeah, 30
It's
files,
too
you
much
can't
effort.
review
Yeah.
And I've never seen a PR with 30 lines.
35 35 files.
Yeah,
Files,
a lot.
okay.
If you are doing more than that, that's a major refactor. It shouldn't be in this release process. Go to another release. Yeah. This is a huge
Okay.
refactor.
Okay.
It needs a more than one. review.
35 doesn't really seem like a large number to me, but okay.
Why are you touching all of these files? If the system is designed well,
Okay.
modular in somehow or microserviced in somehow, you don't need to touch all of these points at
Yeah.
the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. If they follow solid principles.
Yeah,
Okay.
if it is. If
If
it's
it-
not, you will see 35, 40, 50, 60,
Okay.
etc., etc., etc.
Okay.
So this is the actual review process for us in order to get a PR moved on into the actual code base. Despite all of this, we get bugs on production.
Even with you reviewing every single line.
Everybody,
Okay.
everybody, because sometimes you will get edge cases
Yeah.
that you will not see unless it hits production. This software is used in around 1.5 million servers worldwide.
Wow. Okay.
So we have migration issues, upgrade issues, security issues, all types of issues here. We've seen it on a large scale software.
Okay. So humans aren't bulletproof, it seems.
Yeah. What did AI do for us?
Okay.
It made things faster. That's the only advantage that we got. It makes things faster. And for the boring PRs,
Yeah.
change of an icon.
Yeah.
A change of a comment.
Yeah.
Translation.
Okay.
We don't have to go really much into that.
Amazing.
And
Amazing.
This was good. In terms of
How much faster did it make you?
I can't give you numbers. But it made us
20%,
faster.
50%, 80%.
Maybe 40%.
That's amazing.
It
I
is
mean,
amazing.
it's
It is
amazing. Yeah.
Especially for the previous. For the other open source project, like this open source project is written in Symfony PHP. Yeah. For the other open source projects, we use TypeScript and we use Go.
Okay. I would claim this one is 60, 70%.
Yeah, it was faster. With Go, things are pretty fast because the
Yeah.
training data, apparently the training data being used there is much more cleaner. Also for TypeScript. I think Microsoft is training their models on their software. So
I mean, GitHub is an open data set anyway.
And
Yeah.
we are part of the GitHub training set.
Yeah, because I think you guys get Claude now. You get like Claude Pro for free for these projects that are.
But even like.
Even Claude, I think. Yeah, yeah,
Official.
yeah.
So this is on the open source platforms, this is what we achieved. What we do as hacks to run in parallel, we use heavily work trees.
Okay.
This is,
We
yeah,
mentioned that.
this is
Yeah.
One other hack we use very often is a SQLite database where we say this package do this. If you're gonna change this, do this.
Okay. Like rules. Rules, basically.
Rules, but like we have like a context tree of where the code lived. It's
Okay.
Code review graph.
It's something, yeah, graph something.
Okay.
It's not an MCP, it's a database. It's an actual database.
Yeah, but if it's written somewhere, it's
basically an ATS.
yeah.
You convert the code into an ATS, and if you are changing this part of the code, go into that.
Make sure to
database.
do 1, 2, 3.
We
Yeah.
also use a tool called RTK for command line compression. So we don't send all of that. Like
Okay.
we don't send everything to the model.
Okay.
يعني imagine a simple command like ls. That
Okay.
will output a lot of things. This RTK thingy will just combat the output. Make
Yeah,
it
yeah,
less,
yeah,
so
yeah.
load will last longer.
Yeah.
And these are some of the.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Any final more? Amazing. Thank you, guys. One more. Okay. Last second. Okay. Afu.
About balancing.
Balancing what? Sorry. Okay.
Saying that your prompt was answering.
Okay.
The cases that you felt no mention the result is guaranteed to be.
What level are you? Like yeah, senior, junior, mid-senior, mid-level. Mid-level, I would advise you to just go and read. Like reading will teach you a lot of things. And once you understand more, like I think hopefully this will reduce the amount of issues, right? Like you will think more about the corner cases, like you'll understand more about the implementation. I think this wave is unfairly giving like a lot of leverage for more senior people than less senior people, because I think like us like seniors have been working for I don't know like multiple years. We've seen like a lot of issues. We wrote like a lot of code. Like we have faced a lot of incidents. Like we learned like a lot of things about like Deuce corner cases, how to think about like writing Gropos code, etc. So I don't really know how would we learn about these things like in the same way, but for now, I think if you have like the luxury of like yeah, you have the time, you have like supporting ecosystem within the company to review, go and review. I think this is what makes sense. At the same time, go and do side projects maybe and like non-critical open source and let others review for you. That's a good one, but except if they blocked you, I'm not responsible. But yeah, but I think that's a good idea. Yeah, like code and let others review. Yeah. Did this answer?
The generated code getting very biggest. You have very short time, so you're becoming bottleneck.
You are. Yes, you are. Yeah. Yeah, but what matters more for you? Like what matters from it, it depends, right? Like that's why I said like if the company doesn't allow you to review all of this, because I mean some companies now are pushing people hard to go like an AI way, by the way. Maybe not in Saudi, maybe not in this region, but I mean if you talk with anyone working in the valley and even in like in the FANG, etc., like they are equipping them with these different tools and they're expecting way more productivity. So there's no way for you to do that if you will sit and review like all these lines of code. And by the way, like a company of the size of Meta has like the culture of like breaking things and moving fast, even before the AI. And they were totally okay when they went down multiple times. So in some company, this is okay, as long as in Booking, I remember I heard it from the CTO. The guy was saying, we have the revert button. And as long as we are able to revert, we are totally okay with experimenting widely. And then they have like a budget for different teams. Like, and the teams that doesn't really spend this budget, I mean incident budgets basically, like it means that they are not really ambitious enough. If you're working on a culture that doesn't have like a post-mortem culture, like Claude, when the guy went and leak the whole code base, he didn't really lose your job, then definitely don't really do that. But it depends. If you have the time, definitely do it because it will make you sharper. It will get you more experience. At the same time, don't really shy away from the frameworks. Don't shy away from what's going on. But for now, still, it's hybrid. So it makes sense that you get sharper, right? Like, if you go, I don't know, if you will go tomorrow and try to get like an interview, you will be asked about like coding challenges. I do it still for my team, right? So we still do that. Like, so you need to be sharp. Don't really sacrifice your coding skills. I'm not saying this. Please.
Just like two comments. One, about the thing that you said about that we have to spend a lot of time on architecting, automating the thing.
Yeah.
One thing that I found like a little bit useful of me is that because me as a human, I can sometimes.
What do you do?
I'm a senior. I'm a level 2 engineer now. In fintech.
Okay, software engineer. Okay.
So, so basically, what I basically asked at number one, I gave it that you have to be my mentor, like
Yeah.
be like a senior engineer or an architect, and like I'm gonna bounce ideas off
Yes,
you.
yes, yes.
Anything that I'm trying to do,
Yeah.
if I suggest you something, contradict me. Like ask me why I'm trying to do. Like ask.
And it's really good actually in
the
this.
compliment.
It's really good in generating counter ideas for anything
Yeah,
in the world.
yeah.
Yeah.
I've been like, to be honest, I was very skeptical of using coding agents before.
Yeah.
I used to use them for menial stuff before, but now I've like, especially last 2 or 3 months, I've realized the power of
Just
Claude.
the
It's
best
amazing.
time ever to try.
So I've actually created like 4 or 5 MVP services and deployed
Wow,
them, and,
okay.
and they're working.
Wow.
Yeah, they're working in production amazingly well, really fast.
In a fintech, guys. In a
Yeah, in a
fintech.
fintech, funny enough. And
Yeah.
the thing that I do is basically, number one, make it challenge myself, and then once it, as you said, completely iterating, I go and read the code, make sure the code is there. I also make it write me mermaid diagram so that I can review what it's
Yes.
doing.
Amazing. Amazing.
It helps me a lot. And the second thing about according to this question, right? So you can't really take apart what they're doing, especially in a fintech environment. You really need to make sure the compliance and all of those things are done.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that is there's this thing where you can't really let it go fully.
Yeah.
You know what?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
And the bottleneck still comes in.
Of course. Yeah.
But still, if you write your test in a better way, if you do
Yeah.
enforce TDD especially,
Yeah.
it actually like helps you write like 99% of the test cases in the edge case system.
Yeah.
And sometimes it even surprises me.
Yeah. With corner cases. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
I'm a guy who hates Docker, like, and I work with Docker.
Okay.
So it made me fall in love with the newer versions of .NET.
Okay.
With the way it's doing.
Amazing.
So this is kind of a mindset changer.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you. Please.
Thanks for great session.
Welcome.
I'm principal solution architect for a bank here, and I have one simple question. Of course, everyone.
How many MVPs do you generate per day?
Of course, I'm mostly involved in the designs and it's a program level.
Okay.
And, we keep on manage the, of course, it's a cycle altogether. We manage the existing project and we have to keep on look for new solutions
Okay.
and new products which we are building. So whenever we talk about AI, yeah, the key talk is like even though we use AI, there should be human intervention. That's a common consensus which we read. My question is, simple question is, if a person, for example, Ahmed, and another person is there. Ahmed is using AI for coding, and he can produce faster code of faster review.
Yeah.
What benefit he will be losing if he does not use AI for coding or engineering?
His job. I think he will be left out, right? Like over time, he will left out, and it's similar to. I mean, it's similar to people who did competitive programming versus people who didn't, right? People who did lead coding versus people who didn't, right? People who learned like to do fast typing, like touch typing, right? Like touch typing, and people who don't, right? You'll be very slow, and your productivity would be relatively bad compared to the others because like you're not really competing with yourself. Like in reality, you're competing with like the rest of the community. And I would claim also, I mean, I don't want to scare anyone because there are like different philosophies here, and I'm not really, I'm not an economist nor a philosopher, but I think the easy problems are, if the easy problems will be solved by the AI, like what this gentleman was saying, like he's delegating maybe X percentage. It could be in 20%, more it would be 30, 40, I don't know. Then the harder problems are here for us to solve. So you need to sharpen your saw maybe much harder than before, and you need to embrace it. Otherwise, you will be thinking, okay, yeah, I'm really good at building integrations and CRUD services, like, but no one wants a developer to do these anymore. Maybe later, I don't know. And you would be left out, like, with no demand for your skills, because like the skills in demand are not really the same that like the one you have. I don't know. That's my opinion. Please.
Last one, please.
How can a junior engineer prove himself or stand out? Like for you as the head of data and AI, what would you look for in a junior engineer, a fresh graduate, someone with less than a year of experience?
Maybe he's willing to learn, he have and can learn faster than adult. His skills are very better for junior. But yes, you can sharpen him as you like. You want to be one or something.
I think that this is absolutely true. I mean, if you would add to this, let me twist the question a bit, and I would say how maybe, again, it's an opinion, how can you survive in this AI era? I would say there's an opportunity here also that juniors who would embrace AI maybe would be able to beat seniors who are very skeptical, right? And if you spend more time crafting, basically learning the craft and getting yourself immersed in like an open source project and doing side project and learning, and iterate and reflecting on these learnings, maybe you will actually learn much faster than before. I remember when ChatGPT came, my sister is like just graduated also from computer science. I told her like, in my time, I didn't have anyone to review my code and give me tips when I used to do like portfolio projects for my resume. Now you have like ChatGPT at that time to give you tips and review until you know, and yes, and give you like reformatting tips and everything. That's an opportunity. I think a big opportunity to use the AI as your mentor, as your architect, as your reviewer, and to maybe keep iterating every time till, okay, what should I learn? What concept do I really need to immerse myself and get deeper, understand things like deeply, and use AI to help you understand like those very complicated concepts. Lots of time, lots of opportunity. Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you. Sure.
Thanks, Ahmed. Before we eat pizza, we have to take a picture. So I'll need all of you guys. If anyone was not interested in a picture, feel free to